Okay, good morning, students. We are starting with a new topic, that is evaluation of new industrial policy 1991. In the previous class, we have discussed major provisions under new industrial policy 1991. Okay, so in this class, we are going to see the advantages and the limitations of new industrial policy 1991. What happens, see, whenever you are asked to uh, write a evaluation of any topic, you need to write advantages and disadvantages of that particular topic, right? So here the topic is evaluation of new industrial policy. So with the industrial policy 1991, what are the different advantages Indian economy got, and what disadvantages, or limitations of this new industrial policy are, that we are going to see in this uh, lecture. Okay, is this fine? Evaluation includes two things: advantages and limitations of industrial policy 1991. So let us begin with the first advantages of new industrial policy, right? Advantages of the new industrial policy 1991. So first and foremost, most important uh, thing which we have got from this new industrial policy is, first one, it removed the bureaucratic red tapeism in the economy. Bureaucratic red tapeism and other obstacles in the way of industrial development in the economy. You know that in India, there were a lot of bureaucratic hassles. हर कोई भी चीज, कोई भी प्रोसेस आप करने जाओ, लाइसेंस एंड एनीथिंग, it takes a lot of time, and there is, to move file from one table to other table, you need to wait so long. And if you want to move it from one table to other table in the government office or sarkari office, you have to pay under the table, right? That system was there. So this new industrial policy removed, in fact, this the red tapeism, and it simplified the processes. In fact, in many cases, those licenses are not required at all. So it ended the policy of license, permit and quota raj. ठीक है, लाइसेंस परमिट एंड कोटा राज को 91 की पॉलिसी ने खत्म किया है. And you know that the core of 1991 economic policy is LPG, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. Everyone will have a same level playing field, right? There will not be any restriction or reservation. Less and less restrictions will be there. It will be a liberalized, privatized and globalized economy, right? So this is the first advantage we got, or Indian economy got, with the implementation of new industrial policy. That is the first advantage uh, Indian economy got, right? This is the first one. And the second one, the role of public sector industries. You know that since the independence of Indian economy, our uh, in Indian independence, the role of public sector increased plan after plan. In fact, many heavy engineering goods, basic industries were established by the government itself, right? In the beginning of the planning era, first plan, second plan, third plan, especially second 5-year plan, as I told you in the previous classes, that heavy and engineering goods were established, new industrial policy, that fundamentals of all those policies. Industrial policy of 1956 is the core of industrial policy after the independence of India. So the main goal, we adopted a more socialistic pattern of the society. The role of the government increased manifold. because private participation was less and the economy just got independence. So role of public enterprises increased. But over the years, till 1991, these enterprises, government enterprises, in fact became burden for the government, because most of the enterprises were not self-sufficient, accepting the navratnas, accepting those good industries which are still making a profit. Others, many are making losses, and they are burden on the exchequer of the government, right? जो पब्लिक एंटरप्राइजेज है वो गवर्नमेंट की ट्रेजरी के ऊपर बर्डन है, राइट? उनको जो है इस केस में this only option with the government was to disinvest the public enterprises, sell the stakes from the public enterprises. Okay, so that was the, in fact, advantage. Second advantage, the role of public enterprises was reduced. Stakes were sold. Majority, from majority, government became minority in many cases, right? उनका जहाँ पे 51%, 60%, 90% और 100% participation था public enterprises में, that is sold, and now it is 49% or maybe less than that. So government, third point is, government used the policy of disinvestment in the public sector enterprises facing financial losses. ऐसे enterprise जो loss में थे, जिनका financial statement अच्छा नहीं था, the recommendation was given, that there is a disinvestment commission which was established by the government. So this investment commission used to give a recommendation that these enterprises should be disinvested, right? Because those enterprises were burden on the government exchequer, government treasury. So it is better to disinvest so that the government's financial stress is reduced, fiscal deficit is reduced. Okay, so this another advantage, that government got two things. One thing, this burden of these loss-making enterprises is reduced. Secondly, by selling the stakes of these enterprises, government got the extra revenue by disinvesting these enterprises, right? So both way, it increased the revenue, and on the other hand, reduce the burden on the government. So this is the third important advantage under the new industrial policy. Okay, is this clear, students, up to here? 3 points.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, moving on to the next point. The fourth one you can see on the screen under advantages of new industrial policy, that the measures of liberalization increased competition in the industrial sector. और आपको मालूम है, when competition increases, what happens? It leads to increase in efficiency and productivity, right? More and more enterprises are in the market. They are competing with each other, and only the best one can survive in the market. So this LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization increased competition, and with competition, resources are being utilized properly, right? That is another advantage we could see in some of the areas or sectors where it is clearly visible. You can see this after 1991, especially after 2000, emergence of a new sector, that is IT sector, right, which is giving jobs to millions of people in the country. Then you can see automobile sector, you can see this telecommunication sector, where the competition increased, and ultimately resources are being utilized properly, and customers, the consumers, are getting benefited out of this liberalization, right? So productivity increased, competition increased, prices of many products have gone down, right? You take example of aviation industry, also telecommunication industry, as I told you. Then you have automobile industry, you have multiple options now. Earlier we were not having option before 1991, but after 1991 you can see different variants of automobiles are available across the ranges, across the this automobile sector. Okay, so this is the fourth important advantage which the economy got with the new industrial policy 1991. Moving on to the fifth one, the removal of MRTP uh, companies brought, increased foreign investment in the private sector. Earlier, there were restriction on, bigger enterprises in investing in increasing their capacity, starting a new plant. But now this MRTP is removed, and this because of this foreign, though foreign investment that is not increased that much, but still there are sector where you can see foreign investment, like as I said, IT, automobile, and telecommunication. These sectors received a lot of investment from the foreign companies and foreign institutions. So this is the fifth important advantages under the new industrial policy 1991. Moving on to the next, that is special initiatives were taken by the government. Special initiative to accelerate industrial growth in the economy. कौन से वो, you can see under the special initiative SEZ, that is a special economic zone. Then EPZ, that export processing zone. EOU, export oriented units. Special economic zone, export processing zones, export oriented units. These were some of the institutional setups were developed in the economy under the new economic policy, new industrial policy, and this increased exports from India. Now the special advantages and benefits are given to exporting units. If you are importing some inputs and exporting to other countries, you will get tax holidays and several other benefits. The under special economic zones, all uninterrupted power supply, transportation facilities, one window clearance of all the government procedures, such benefits, such facilities were given under the special initiative, and this became one of the advantages of new industrial policy. Okay, so special economic zone, export processing zone, and export oriented unit का जो कॉन्सेप्ट लाया गया, इसकी वजह से एक्सपोर्ट्स जो है में चेंजेस आए, इंक्रीज, एक्सपोर्ट इंक्रीज हुआ है. दो इट इज नॉट, यू कैन नॉट से दैट वेरी हाई, बट abhi as of now condition is totally different under this pandemic situation. But before that, and we hope that in the coming years, if the infrastructural facilities are improved, other things are that we will be discussing after limitations, obviously. So this is about the special initiative, right? Then here it also helped to increase the foreign exchange reserves of India. After in 1991, you are aware of the fact how much was the foreign exchange reserve in India. It was only $1 billion, right? Hardly $1 billion in 1991. And you can see now this is nearing about more than $400 billion. The foreign exchange reserve with India now more than $400 billion. So it has increased many fold. Yes, the figures are fluctuating. Anyway. So this foreign exchange reserve has also increased with the policy changes, because now FDI is coming, FII is coming, in different formats, money is coming into the country, and that eased out the foreign exchange reserve out. And you know that you need foreign exchange to pay the import bills, and especially two important bills I told you under import bills. Kya do cheezein hain? Do cheezein, very important thing, that is bill occurring because of the oil imports, and secondly gold imports, and thirdly nowadays high sophisticated capital goods import, which are very much needed for the industrial development of the economy. So under the new regime, now you can import, and you need foreign exchange. So to support that also we need a lot of foreign exchange, and now we are in a very comfortable position now. काफी सारा रिजर्व है हमारे पास. On that front there is no problem at all. So this is one of the very important advantages of new industrial policy 1991. Okay, is this clear, students? Prashant, Sabha?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. सबका नाम तो नहीं ले सकता मैं. यस, जो जहन में आ गया श्रेया मैं बोल दिया. ओके.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Moving on to the limitations of industrial policy. ऐसा नहीं है कि new industrial policy 1991 is a panacea for all the problems. है ना? ये हर मर्ज की दवा नहीं है. न्यू इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी में ऐसा कुछ नहीं कर दिया गया है कि पूरा का पूरा ही प्रॉब्लम जो है सॉल्व हो जाए. ऐसा नहीं है. स्टिल देयर आर लॉट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम इन द इकोनॉमी. Even after implementation of LPG, implementation of new industrial policy 1991. So what are those limitations of industrial policies that we are going to see now? First one is, you can see stagnation of manufacturing sector. Even after implementation of newer policy, industrial policy in India failed to push the industry manufacturing growth. India could not become manufacturing hub under this new regime. Whereas if you compare with China, China is moving way ahead of India, far ahead of Indian economy as far as manufacturing development is concerned. So, and there are, that how much this manufacturing sector is contributing now in GDP to only 18%, whereas this should be around 30% at least, right? Because you cannot sustain your growth on the basis of services sector only. More than 50% coming from services sector, that is not a good sign unless and until we have sound एग्रीकल्चर एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर. इंडस्ट्रियल सेक्टर को बहुत ही मजबूत होना चाहिए, एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर को बहुत ही मजबूत होना चाहिए. देन ओनली इफ सर्विस सेक्टर इज कंट्रीब्यूटिंग, देन दैट बिकम्स सस्टेनेबल. अदरवाइज यू कैन नॉट सस्टेन योर ग्रोथ ओनली डिपेंडिंग ऑन सर्विसेज सेक्टर. तो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का जो स्टेटस है अभी, वी नीड टू डू अ लॉट टू इम्प्रूव आवर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर. ओके, so this is the first important limitation of industrial policy of India, right? Next, very important limitation, that distortion in industrial pattern. जो इंडिया का इंडस्ट्रियल पैटर्न है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पैटर्न है, जो इन्वेस्टमेंट इनफ्लो आ रहा है इंडिया के अंदर, the inflow which is coming to India, that is selective, very much selective. It is coming to few sectors and few industries only, where the foreign companies and foreign participants feel that they can get quick money, they can make quick bucks. There, in those sectors only they are investing. So there is a very slow pace of investment in the much needed basic and strategic sectors. जो बेसिक एंड स्ट्रेटेजिक इंडस्ट्रीज हैं वहां पे इन्वेस्टमेंट बहुत कम हो रहा है, लाइक इंजीनियरिंग सेक्टर, पावर सेक्टर, मशीन टूल सेक्टर्स. पावर का स्टेटस मालूम ही है आपको, what is the status? Our distribution system is not okay. That's why still we don't have zero load shedding across the country. Very few cities are having zero load shedding. So there is an urgent need to invest in power sector, need to revive and restructure and develop it, right? Similarly, machine tools, similarly the engineering goods, in areas में investment करने की जरूरत है, huge investment is required. But the foreign counterparts are not coming forward in this area because the return is very slow in these areas, and investment required is very high. Huge investment is required, right? So there is a need to make reforms in that areas, make it more attractive for the foreign participants, so that they can invest in these areas as well, right? Facilities should be provided by the government. And so what are the areas where investments are coming? Only you can see computer software and hardware, telecommunication, trading, automobile sector. These areas, foreign investments are coming. But about other strategic areas, as I told you, we are having very less investment. So this is another, the new industrial policy could not solve this problem, because the problem is from the infrastructural side. Problem is from the, still the bureaucratic hassle is there. Political lack of willingness is there. There is a nexus of, enterprises and government. Fair level playing field is not there, right? So this is, these are the two important limitations. Moving on to the third one, that is displacement of labor. Because of this liberalization, privatization, lot of modernization and restructuring taking place, and because of that, lot of people are displaced. Especially I will mention the, textile sector, textile industries, even the construction industry. There a lot of mechanization is happening, and they need less and less labor. India being the populous country where there are, sufficient workforce, we it is a dilemma for the government, it is a dilemma for the economy, to go for the mechanization and to see the employment of labor, employment of people. And this is very important. You need to have strike a fair balance between mechanization, restructuring, and labor employment. So no doubt this displacement of labor is happening because of implementation of mechanization and modernization. And now you can see this lot of automation is happening. That is another bigger problem. Because of automation, big industries hiring less and less people. So that is another issue in the economy, that is creating problem. So this government needs to think in a way that should improve the employment as well as modernization of both are needed, but the balance is important. You need to have a proper balance, right? After all, why, what for development? Development क्यों चाहिए हमें? Development is for the welfare of the people. If people are not employed, if there is inequality in the society, poverty in the society, then that will be unbalanced growth. So that is not good for the economy, right? That is not sustainable at all. Okay. Moving on to the next limitation, that is absence of incentives for raising efficiency. There is, incentives are not there. Fair incentives are not there. Government is saying this export-led growth, investment, consumption-led growth, all these policies are there, but policies are not focused one. Policies are not, I would say, consistent one. It is changing frequently, right? And the support which is needed, that much the industries are not getting. For if industry is say modernizing itself, such benefit and incentive should be given, so that under this new industrial policy 1991, though now changes have been made, like you can see Make in India campaign and all these things are happening in our country, but still we are discussing about new industrial policy 1991. So from that parlance, this is the limitations of new industrial policy. Moving on to the next, there is a lack of clearly defined industrial location policy. This is a bigger problem. Industrial location, where to locate the industry. There are several instances in our country where once industry is located, again because of this environmental concern, industry is relocated, and because there is no fixed clear-cut guideline was given in new industrial policy 1991, because of that this industrial growth hampered. So here we need to have a clearly defined industrial policy without having much of this red tapeism and bureaucratic hassles. And once you have allowed and you have taken into consideration everything, you should not be obstructing in the development of industries, right? So clearly defined policies are required, which was not there in the new industrial policy 1991. Now moving on to, these are some of the important limitations. Now moving on to the, you know, what is the way ahead, what is there for us. You know that Indian economy was a mixed economy since a first and second 5-year plan, and after 1991 we switched to capitalist economy. More and more focus is given to capitalism, and you know, capital, under capitalist system, the leading force is the market force, and it should you know, the ultimate goal is the profit maximization. So under this you know, shifting goal, government has much bigger role to see the concern of the people or enterprises which are, you know, not equal, which are not up to date, which are not at the same level playing field to compete with the bigger multi multinational companies, right? So uh, though after 1991 policy many changes took place, and we have liberalized industrial policy regime, right, which has increased foreign investment, and now lesser regulation is there, but still there is a need to change a lot of, you know, policies, so that the foreign investment become easier, come to the country easily without much you know, hassles. Now latest report I'll tell you in terms of ease of doing business. World Bank ka report hai ye, World Bank's annual report on ease of doing business, EODB, ease of doing business. In this doing business 2020 report mein 190 countries, 90 economies were compared, right? Because doing business is how easy it is in any economy. So 119 countries data were calculated, and it was ranked, right, by the World Bank, and India ranked 63rd out of 190 countries, and India's position improved by 14 spots this year. 14 rank it has improved, right? But still, you know, there is a, out of 190 countries we are still at 63rd. We are not in top 10, top 20, 63rd. So there is a need to, you know, improve the condition. We have to do a lot to make doing business easier, right? Still there is a need. Okay, students, are you there with me? Can you hear
Yes,
me
yes,
properly?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir. Yes.
Yes.
थोड़ा फास्ट हो रहा है
Okay,
सर.
okay, 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 no problem.
Yes, sir.
I'll repeat, don't worry. And moving on to the last part, that is reforms related to insolvency resolution. If any company becomes you know, insolvent, what to do? So bankruptcy and insolvency act is brought in 2017. GST is rolled out, you know that, right? GST, they are impressive in theory, right? As far as what do you call the benefits of GST is concerned, still it is in fact acting like obstacle rather than benefits. Why GST is rolled out? For, you know, simplifying the indirect taxes, but actually what we can observe, rather than simplifying it, it has become headache to many you know, enterprises, majority of the enterprises. So in fact the GST was implemented hurriedly and with less planning, right? More planning is was required, that is not done. So still now you can see slowly it is being improved, and still a lot more things to be done under GST, because you know, earlier we were having 17 different taxes, now we are having one. So that way one tax is there, but the system and procedure in this also is so complicated. For small enterprises it becomes cumbersome, it becomes difficult. So obviously if something new you implement, it takes time to adjust, right? So this is a soothing adjustment time is required, you can call it. And though when it was implemented, it is almost more than 2 years now, GST is rolled out. right? So how it is going to uh, affect the economy. So these are, after 1991 policy changes, obviously, not that time. These things were not there. These things were being discussed that time. And now it took, you see, how many years from 91 to 2020, these many years, 30 years to implement, right? So still, so these are some of the, like, Make in India campaign, as I said. So many things are there, but simply sloganing will not do. स्लोगन देने से सिर्फ नहीं होगा, ऑन ग्राउंड काम करने की जरूरत है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को इम्प्रूव करने की जरूरत है, राइट? लॉट मोर थिंग्स टू बी डन. आप चाइना से कॉम्पीट करना चाहते हैं, हाउ चाइना इज सपोर्टिंग द इंडस्ट्रीज, अकॉर्डिंगली यू हैव टू डू, in India as well, right? You have to improve the basic infrastructure constants, like electricity shortages in India के अंदर, lack of good and reliable transport facility हमारे पास नहीं है. Our, the road transport is not at all reliable. Credit constraints are there, political interference in businesses are there, other, regulatory burdens are there in the economy, right? So there is a need for new industrial policy now to boost the manufacturing sector in the economy. ये सारे जो problems है economy के अंदर, इसको, and saying is very easy, as I am saying, sure, these are shortages and these are problems, but solving it is very difficult. It's not that easy that you will overnight you will solve these problems. So government needs to focus on it and consistently do uh, things to improve, power supply problem, transport problem, credit constant problem, and most importantly, this political interference in businesses, right? We headed towards capitalist system. ठीक है, कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमी की तरफ जा रहे हैं, लेकिन स्टिल देयर इज लॉट ऑफ इंटरफेरेंस, गवर्नमेंट पॉलिटिकल इंटरफेरेंस. देन व्हाट इज द यूज, राइट? It should be free. Government interference should be less and less, and it should work. Market should work on the market forces rather than intervention by the governments, right? So that needs to be done now, after this many years, right? So this is all about evaluation of new industrial policy 1991. Okay.